So thank you very much for inviting me here today. JIZ, especially Sarala Kaling, who actually asked me to come here and present our work here. I'm very grateful for her, to her for inviting us to be here. So my presentation is basically based on the Quang village in Vertiver district of Meghalaya. We are working on indigenous people food systems, not exactly aquatic resources, but since the indigenous people food system also has different production systems within that, and water and aquatic resources are an important part of that. So I'll be touching on it a little bit. And our success story is basically based on this concept called Mawroh Cafe or Indigenous Mother Earth Cafe, which we have used to promote the indigenous people food system. And I'll show you examples how we are trying to do that. Okay, so thank you very much. So now, NESFAS, Northeast Open Agrobiodiversity Society, we work on indigenous people food system with a basic aim being agroecology, agrobiodiversity, and food sovereignty. Now, the main focus of our work has always been on the indigenous people food system. Now, when we talk about the food system itself, food system means all the elements with the environment, people, input, process, infrastructure, institutions that goes into from the very moment you're producing something to the moment it is being consumed. I mean, like for example, you can see that all the factors governing it, all the systems are part of this. And within this food system, we have three types of food system. Number one is the modern food system. Then we have the traditional food system, and then you have the mixed food system. When you talk about the modern food system, this is exactly what we are living in right now, where food is produced throughout the. You can get food from throughout the year. This happens basically. Number one is because of you are bringing food from different parts of the world. And also you have a lot of processing, a lot of packaging going on. So that is the modern food system. The traditional food system is a very food system which is based on local food production. It's very seasonal. You get certain food only a certain time of the year, not every time of the year. Now when you look at the current food system out here, even in Nagaland also I'm sure of it, we have these two types of food system working very well. The modern system and the mixed food and the traditional system, which becomes the mixed food system. Now my concern here as our organization is to work on the indigenous people food system, which is a subset of the traditional food system. Why indigenous people food system? Because the food system is practiced by indigenous people in a traditional way. Now we come to Meghalaya, and I'm very sure this is the same case, it's there in Nagaland or any other area as well. We have a diversity of food production system in the state. For example, if you look at the picture over there, you can see that we have at least here 6 food production systems. The first one is the river, is the aquatic resources. Then you have the forest. Now forest also a very important food production system. Because in forest we get wild animals and also like food plants as well, which I'll come to it later. Then we have the paddy system, the Kohima system, where you grow well paddy, but then we practice well paddy cultivation. But even within that paddy cultivation, there is a lot of diversity, which I'm going to talk also about that. Then we have a system which is very unique to Meghalaya. It is the bund system, or we call it terrace farming. Now, why the system developed came out in Meghalaya in the last 40 years? We saw the central upland of Meghalaya, which is the grassland region. Not many forests were left. So because of that, the jhum cycle became very unsustainable. So therefore, the people innovated this new method of farming system where you grow you till the land, you work on a plot for 2 years and then you leave the land fallow 5 to 6 years. But in jhum system, as many of you must know that it is a very long fallow period, long fallow cycle, like 10 to 15 years. And then you have the kitchen garden, which is there everywhere. Almost all the households have kitchen garden. It may be small in size, may be big in size, depending on which area you are from. For example, in Vertiver district, I'm sure if you go there because there's a lot of land availability, the kitchen garden are bigger. But when you go to some part of Meghalaya, the War area, because land is very limited, the size of the kitchen garden also is very limited. And then so these are the 6 different food production systems that are found in Meghalaya. And what we did was in 2018, we did an agrobiodiversity mapping. Now this was basically focused only on food plants, not on animals. So what we did 32 villages in Meghalaya and Nagaland, I think Nagaland district, and also in Chhaya area also we did 4 districts. So what we did was that we had a free listing of all the agrobiodiversity present in the area. And these are just food plants. And what we found is that on an average in West Khasi Hills, the total number of food plants in one village can be 194. In Vertiver, it is 252. East Khasi is 194. In Nagaland, 189. Now, Nagaland actually, I think the number is much, much higher than this. But because I think in some villages, the people did not give us a free listing, but I feel the number could be more than 200, 300 food plants in a particular Naga village. And when we did from all the survey we did, that we found that Quang, which is my case study out here, has the highest amount of agrobiodiversity, 319 food plants. And these constitute not just cultivated, but also the things you bring from the forest. Next, please. Now, when we talk about the paddy-based food system, which is found in Quang, which is the most dominant one, we see that paddy is not the only plant, or not the only crop grown out there. Even rice paddy also, they have around 28 varieties in one single village. This is not the highest. The highest we found in a village in Marmai and River, which has 40 rice varieties. I think in Chhaya they have 60 rice varieties in single village. So the diversity is very high. Then apart from paddy, you also have other vegetables in wild, which is cultivated also and non-cultivated. The one that you grow along the buns. Around 26 vegetables we found in the paddy field itself. Then you have fruit trees, which are growing along the edges of the paddy field. And then you have come here, which is the important part here for us, is that the aquatic and non-aquatic animals. So what we found is that, and this also with the workshop with the community, we asked them, can you please list down the types of bioresources you found from your paddy fields? And it said we have around 28 animals we harvest in the paddy field. Out of those 28, 26 are the aquatic creatures. You have the crabs, then you have like different types of fishes. So these are, and then 2 are the rodents. When we see here, as you can see that these are all the different vegetables and the fruits and the animals, the rodent especially, and down there you can also see the women fishing in the paddy fields. Not just the paddy field, basically it's basically along the edges of the paddy field because there's a river flowing across it. And as we know that the valleys in the hills or anywhere else, there's a work of erosion of the river. And so this is the valley, this is the river valley, and along the edges of the paddy field, the river flows, and here the people are fishing. Now there are different way of fishing also, because here you can see they're using the strays and using this small bamboo basket, and they also use a fishing hook. But when you go down south, like the War area which I was talking about, where the rivers are much wider, what people do is that they go to the edges of the river, in the river bank, where the water is not very deep, and they make the small dams out of bamboo, and they leave the exit, they leave one side open so that the fish can enter through that opening, and then there will be a traditional trap put in there. But in this case, because the river is not very wide, they don't use those methods here. It's very simple. They use these trays or maybe like one little basketball core as a seed to see what fish they can find from there. So depending on the ecology, depending on the area, you have different types of fishing technique. Now, we will also ask to talk about the gender issues out here. How much gender, how much women are being allowed to take part in the decision-making process. Now, Meghalaya is a matrilineal society. We all know that. But in terms of political participation, women are not very well empowered. Now, the reason being that women are not allowed to be part of the Darwashnaum. Darwashnaum in the village council, which is the executive council and the general members. Now, women are not allowed to be part of it. Now, in the past, when you think about it, how is it that the matrilineal society in Meghalaya doesn't have women in part of the Darwashnaum? The fact is that I, as a man, when I go and take part in the Darwashnaum, I don't represent myself, I represent my mother, I represent my mom's clan. And if, as a man, I don't have any female in my house, I cannot go and sit in the Darwashnaum. That was a logic in the past. So I am not going as a man, I'm going as a brother, as an uncle to my maternal clan. But that system is broken down now. And so therefore, we need women to be part of the Darwashnaum, which is not happening in the village, but in other places it is happening. In fact, we hope very soon, the next few years, that we have a village in these Khasi Hills where there will be a woman headman very soon. We are hoping that that can happen. So when you talk about the Darwashnaum, what does it do? It makes the rules and regulations of how to manage the resources in the area. Now, Khwain, this is the Khwain village map, social map. Basically, we're doing right now a PBR project in Khwain. So this is the social map. This is not complete. We're working on that. We're doing our GPS survey to get the proper GPS coordinates. So later on, we will have that. And you can see the blue line over there is the river. It's crisscrossing across the landscape, and you have the paddy field on the other side. That's from where the people are collecting the fish. Not just from the river itself, but during the monsoon period, when the river overflows and the fish, then they go into the paddy field. There also they collect fish. So there are 2 ways of it: from the river itself and the paddy field itself. I'm not really sure is this the apiculture, the pisciculture, like pisciculture plus paddy culture. I'm not really sure about that. But that's how the people do in this village. Now, when you come in terms of management of resources, now this village has very little common land. Most of the land now is privately owned. But when it comes to the river itself, the river is a common property resource. So the community will make rules for that. Now when we talk about the animals out there, there are 2 types, the aquatic animals and the terrestrial animals. Now for the terrestrial animals, what we found was that when we talk to the community, yes, there are rules. You cannot go and kill the animals, you cannot go and instrument hunting. But when we talk to people on the ground, they said there are no rules like that. You can go and hunt any animal you want. In fact, the headman we talked to, in fact, he was a very proficient hunter in this time when he was younger. But now that he is a headman, he's a policeman, so he's not hunting any more animals. But when you talk about the fish, the rules regarding aquatic resources, we find that these rules do not use any chemicals, dynamite or lime to the water bodies. Do not use big nets or big jars for fishing in the water bodies. Now these rules are very, very similar. You find across the Khasi Jaintia Hills. I remember we were in Bhoi, the same rules were there. We went in the central part of Meghalaya, the Khindriam area, the same rules were there. We go to the War area, the same rules were there. So because the reason being that, if you look into the history of the Khasis, there was a book by P.R. Gordon on the Khasis, an ethnographic book, I think those who are anthropologists will know about that. In there you read meat, we think we are meat eaters. Of course, we are meat eaters, but more important than meat from us in the past was fish. Fish was very, very important. In fact, we do also have, in terms of the origin of certain clans, certain kings, like in the Jaintia, you read the Jaintia Burangi, you'll find that in the Jaintia Burangi, there's a folk tale of how the kingdom of Jaintia actually came from a woman who was a fish. So it's like so you see that fish is very important for us. Now these rules are there in all the villages. Now the antecedent for that also is that in 1954, when we don't have Meghalaya at the time, we have the Khasi Jaintia District Council. There was a law brought by the District Council, United Khasi Jaintia District Council, against prohibition of using of all these chemicals and all those like very harmful practices for fishing. So we know that fish is very important for our community, and we have rules for that. Do the people follow it? I am sad to say, not all the time, but because I asked the headman also, have you prosecuted anyone who was caught using poison or using all those other methods? He said, no, we haven't caught anyone. I said, why did you do that? Because you know what, we have to live together. We are living together in a community, we cannot actually punish somebody. But because the rule is there, the number of, I would say the incidence also has gone down. Although people are doing it, but it's not as much. Now, how did we work with the system out there, the indigenous people food system in Quang, which is based on paddy. We also have Jum in Quang, and then also they have the fishing activity. We worked it through the Mawroh Cafe, which is called the Indigenous Mother Cafe. So what we do here is that now in Khasi villages, when you go, you find that every village they almost have a shop, food shop. So what we ask the people out there, especially this two lady, Kongdia and Kongkantina, see, we are going to work with you. We're going to support you. But what you have to do is that you have to make sure in your food shop, you're not going to sell any non-local food. Everything has to be local. It has to be sourced from the local landscape, the dish has to be local. And so therefore it was a livelihood option also as well, but also in a way we're trying to protect our culture and custom, and also because of that, the sustainable food practices. Because if you're going to get these vegetables, you cannot use chemicals. If you're going to get this fish, you have to use, you cannot use the dynamite, you're going to use poison for that. So that way, now this Mawroh cafes actually became very, very popular. In fact, this is our success. I think from our project we have worked, this is the biggest success story we have right now. So those are the items they're selling in the Mawroh cafe. You have the crabs, then you have the fermented fish, tungtap, chili, prickly ash, the red one, then you have the dosia, this is the chicken, and then you have dotli, this is the fried fish. Then these are all the dish items, a lot of them also are fish items. Next please. And these are different fish caught from the village itself. So these are the prawns and the different types of fish and the crabs. Now, next please. And this is this cafe has got a lot of recognition, like Yes Solution magazine. They published a story on that. Outlook Traveler, they published a story on that. Shillong Time, this is the story I wrote for the paper. Then there's the PCN video, and after the video, a lot of people started going to the cafe. And this is the Kong Dial, who actually got an award from Meghalaya government for entrepreneurship. So, I'm talking in terms of now climate change. Why this indigenous people food system, go back please, is resilient to climate change. We talk about climate change now. There is no, mitigation maybe can happen, but we have to look for adaptation. We have to look for resilience, how our food system can be resilient. And resilience, biodiversity rich IPFS, indigenous people food system contribute to resilience in 4 ways. And this is something we took from the Wipala paper, which is presented in the United Nations Food System Summit, where I think 60 indigenous communities plus scientific organizations contributed to that. NESFAS also was one of that. There are these 4 ways in which the biodiversity-rich IPFS contribute to resilience. Number 1, insurance against resource failures. We have so many sources. If one fails, the other can come and compensate for that. Adaptation of food resources over a longer time period, because these land, especially the land races, have evolved over many generations, so they are very highly adapted to the local environment. And the second last one, go back please. And then this is in terms of the pest control, like for example in Jum system. Now in Jum system, what we found is that especially in Thailand, they told us that in the fallow period, it's a very good area for pollinators. So therefore, the pest control, pollination, and all is very important. And then the last one, sheltering of food system. No. Sorry. Sorry. Last. No. Go back, please. So ecological shock. Because the system is very resilient, therefore it also can adapt to ecological shock. Now, the only example I can give you for this is that when we were doing our agrobiodiversity mapping, we found that people told us there are many species, many dinosaurs which are very resilient to climate change. We didn't believe them. But this year, when there was heavy rainfall in Meghalaya, I think we broke 40-50 year rainfall record in Meghalaya this time around. We found that when people told us that these species will not survive climate change stress, they didn't survive. So therefore, the knowledge that people gave us during the APD mapping is coming to fore right now. And that's all I can say, because the last one was a work we did with FAO in terms of the food insecurity experience scale. We found that during COVID-19, We had collected the data and gave to the FAO statistical unit. They found that food insecurity in Meghalaya, in Nagaland, it was only 11% compared to the South Asia. It's just 40% to the world, like 30%. And why? Because of our food system, the diversity inherent in it. And we're trying our best to promote it. One way is going to the Mawroh Cafe. That is a success story we have till now, but we're hoping that maybe in the future we can do some more, we can look at more initiatives. Thank you very much.